Today we are going to discuss something about business process automation. Now, the purpose of this deck is to ensure that what is business process, what are the different automation steps we take, and what kind of tools you are using, and how it is helping the industry as a whole. So let's begin the presentation. What is business process? The definition of business process is actually this is a set of activity that accomplish a specific organizational goal, which means if every business process should be such that they should have an individual goal and they should be aligned to the corporate goal or the organization goal for the business, and the business process should be designed in such a way that if two people operate that particular process following that business process, the outcome will be almost similar or same. That is the objective. So we have to now think of what is business process management. Now there are in organization, they have certain goals always embedded in the organization. For instance, some organization, many of the organizations may think of the growth as one of the goal, may transform as one of the goal, run and one of the process. So now we need to design the business process in such a way and manage the business process that these goals are achieved actually. Now, organization also do lot of business process mapping to help boost the effectiveness of their business operation. For instance, business process mapping provides a visual representation of how different process function and gives organization better visibility and how that business works actually. So by itself, if you look at a business, it is very difficult to ascertain what are the how the business is doing, because if you see only one parameter, if you look at finance, it may not be the full view of the business. Also if you look at the only product, it may not give you the full view. But every business has the culmination of different processes and different functions, and the business process mapping in each function is done in such a way that we can very clearly understand what are the business goals are and how they are aligned actually. Now, primarily, there are three types of business process we can see. There will be some kind of process which will be primary process. Primary process is the process which will be used for the purpose of doing the fundamental delivery of your product. That is, it will help, it will serve the customer, and it will make the money out of it. So that is the primary process. I'm just giving an example. We just take a example of a, let's say, a simple process of let's say a simple process of doing business in the area of managing steel, marketing steel. So if you are manufacturing steel, then there will be the goal of the organization will be to manufacture the buy the raw material, convert the raw material into a semi-finished product. From semi-finished product, convert then into finished product. Then use that raw material finished product for customers' purpose. Sell it to the market and earn money. That may be a primary process of the steel manufacturing. But those primary processes cannot work on their own unless and until all support processes are in place. Support processes are always very important because they will always assist to successful completion of the primary process activity. For example, the HR function is a support process. But without HR function, if the employees are not there, employees are not happy, or they are not taken care of, your primary process cannot work. Similarly, there may be finance process, maybe a support process actually, because they will help you to actually measure how your business is doing. And then the third type of process is the management process. It is necessary that there has to be a very good management and governance strategy for any organization who will continuously monitor the processes, who will actually regulate the different inputs, ensure that the outputs are as desired, do the course correction, and ensure that if there is any lack of anywhere, that will be taken care of. So there will be different parameters to monitor those management processes also. Now, why there are three different processes I am saying, all three different processes are extremely important, because in absence of any one of the process, the whole business may collapse. So the business process engineering, business process automation, all these things are required in all three processes. Now it may so happen, if you are trying to do any business process automation in the main primary process, it may so happen they have the impact of any other support process or management process also. So they are, because they are interlinked actually. So now I go to the next step. I actually would like to tell, there are very loosely used word and there are jargons, but there are confusing also. So people use actually process, procedure, workflow. I have already told what is process. Now what is procedure? Procedure is, if you have a process and you want to document that process, how you are doing the particular function, that is procedure. Sometimes it is called standard operating procedure also. Like for instance, a person who is joining a department, a HR function, that they will have a certain work to be done, right? So the first day, suppose somebody needs a employee to be onboarded, he will first approach the HR department, raise a requisition. I require this person. Prepare the job description of that person. Then HR department will go to different sources and try to find out what kind of resources are available in market. They will also ask what is the budget of that person to be. They will try to fit the resources, collect the CV, do the budgeting. Then the CV, then the candidates will be contacted. They will submit their resume, submit their testimonials, and then there will be a interview. And post interview, there may be 2-3 rounds of interview, and then out of many candidate interview, the best candidate will be selected. Then there will be a salary negotiation. We know all these things, right? So these are the processes. Now for every function, whatever I have told, suppose you create a job description, there must be a procedure, a written document, how that has to be done. In absence of a written standard operating procedure, if this thing is given to some novice person or some new joinee or trainee, he may be doing lot of mistakes. So it is necessary that we write down all those things in a procedure, and those procedures are available in a common area, and they are reviewed from time to time actually, for their effectiveness or for their adequacy. Because when the organization is small, procedures may be simple, but as and when organizations grow, although the input and output is same, but inside the box of the standard process parameters, the parameters keep on changing. Lot of complexity keeps on adding. So the same process, same procedure may not be right in the long journey. So procedures are important to be written, and they are also needed to be reviewed. So if we go around, in past we used to do ISO 9000 implementation, which is to give us opportunity to write down lot of standard operating procedure, review the procedure, and if you do a systematic audit and find out the process which is written and the process which is followed in the ground, whether they are in sync. Because many times there is a non-compliance in that. What do we do to correct those compliances? So those kind of process mapping, process improvement is done. In fact, there is a separate type of engineering, which is value engineering, production engineering, who takes care of all those kind of things, that how the processes are controlled. Because if the processes is not there, any organization cannot sustain for a long time actually. Because once in a while you may have the very good output sometime, but you may not have the good output. Imagine if the processes are not strong, will Coca-Cola be able to produce the same kind of output in every bottle, millions and millions of bottles they prepare? If the process is not there, can you imagine that the cork what will produce in the field, those corks will be of the same quality? It will not. Even everywhere the processes are important. Now after the procedure, another item which is very important is actually workflow. Now, workflow is actually the visual way of representing the process. It is important that we workflow diagrams are made, and we also design who has to do what after whom. So it is something like if you really see, if you play a concert, there are many musicians together, they play, but everyone has different purpose, right? And also if one of them makes a mistake, the whole thing goes for a toss. So there is necessity that the workflow should be drawn on a very categorically in a system, and if there is any miss, if there is any change, those workflows can be they can be post correction can be done actually. Next important, we need to think what are the components of a standard business. So components of the purpose of any business is that it should create and deliver something of value to customer, because if the value is not there for the customer, the business doesn't exist. Customer should gain out of that service actually, service or product, that other people want or need has to be ascertained. So value creation is very important. It will discover what people need or want, then they will create the value. Then the next part is the marketing. You have to attract attention and build demand of customer that what you have created. So you can do a wonderful thing, but if the marketing is not there, your product will not be sold. So marketing is very important to create the brand value of your company, brand value of your product, and then it is important that you ensure that the brand is maintained and sustenance mechanism is in place. Then the next important process or component is actually sales process, because you may lure the customer, but unless and until you convert those customers into your clients, you convert the clients to your customer or leads to your customer, your money will not come. So sales is very important actually. So for sales purpose, you may have to uh, supply some product, supply some service, and ensure that you get the payment from the customer also. So that is part of the sales. And after the sales is done, you need to think of the value delivery. Now what is value delivery? It can be a manufacturing process. You need to produce that product and give it to them. If it is a service industry, you may have to provide the service and satisfy their need actually. So that is important. And then most important part also is the finance, because whatever you do, unless and until you know that how much profit you are making, how much losses you are making, what is the cost of the goods sold, what is the cost of the service made, what are the different component, what are the impact of different cost on your profitability, you cannot do the business. So these five parameters what I have written here, that is that creates and delivers something of value that other people want or need at a price they are willing to pay, in a way that satisfies the customer's need and expectation, and so that the business brings in sufficient profit to make it worthwhile for the owners to continue the operation. You take out any one of them, and then it is not a business. It may be a charity, it may be a hobby, it may be time pass, but it is not a business. If a business has to sustain, all these five things has to be there in place actually. Now why I am saying this? I am saying this because when we design a business process in every function, we need to keep this big goal in mind. Because in case any one of the business process we design, which is not aligned to the corporate goal, it is something like, I keep on telling. Suppose one business has got lot of business in east coast of America, and they have got lot of customers there, and they have got lot of sales provision there, but that business decides that we will develop our best IT system, our best offices, everything in the west coast of America. Now what will happen? Although your customers are in east coast, but you have developed your all capability in the west coast, the cost of the travel, cost of the other logistics will be so high, transportation cost will be so high, that business will not be viable. So you need to think what is the need of the customer, and then design each business process to suit that need actually. Now and it is and in the strategy function of an organization, in fact in any organization, strategy is extremely important. When you design a strategy, you need to design these big ticket items in the first place itself. Why the organization has come into being, what is the goal of the organization, and then accordingly each and every small other functions, other processes, whether they are primary process, whether they are support process, whether they are management process, those have to be redefined, and the components have to be redesigned like that actually. So I hope I am making some sense so far. I will actually go ahead and give one more conception, which is called business process reengineering. Now what is business process reengineering? So what happens, over a period of time, You may have defined the processes, it might have learned for worked very well for quite some time, but as the organization grow, or as the organization diverts in many functions, or new people join, or maybe some old people go away, the processes which was at the beginning was working well may not work well at this point of time. Unfortunately, many organizations do not understand even that the processes which was working earlier are not working, and it is felt very bad when the customers give that feedback, or when the sales drop, or when there is a devastated effort of any of the services happen, or some, and the whole business goes away. So it is necessary that we should actually look into the business process, as I told, that where are the business process, where are the business process we are doing, and then we need to do some kind of re-engineering. Business process engineering is a very large subject. In fact, many years back in Mumbai, I did a certification course of business process engineering, and I gather a lot of insights into business after that course actually. Business process engineering is something which will actually give you an idea that how you can improve the business process on a continuous basis. So what we do in that, I have just prepared a diagram from an internet. So it is said that you have to recognize the need for change. So what change is required? So there it may so this is very difficult thing, right? Because on the prima facie it may appear everything is not working, but there are many techniques. You can go to the fishbone diagram, where you can remove all the paraphernalias and come to the conclusion, this is the root cause analysis, this is the root of the problem. If we solve this, other problem will fall in place. So you need to first identify the recognize these changes. Now in doing this identification, as I have written in the left hand side from my own experience, you may have to identify the non value added activities, because non value added activities are actually eating up all our bandwidths actually. Then we may identify the root cause of the problem. We may understand impact of each activity, how they are impacting other processes. Then we should assess the root cause of most important problem. After we do that, then the next important point is number 2, which is design the future state of the process. So in standard software format, we tell it as is and to be. As is how we are doing the business today, how our process is working today, and to be is what it will do in after the business process engineering is done. So as is and to be. So we need to design that. Now when you design that, there has to be strategy to do the design, because first understand the that the changes what you are making will have a long term impact on the business. So the to be process what you design, you need to think of all the possible scenarios, all the possible failures possible to be done, what kind of testing to be done, what are the users, and more important is, which I keep on saying in many of the forums, that today there are three generation of people are in the organization. One generation is my generation, who you can tell a little old generation, who have seen IT to some extent, but not that extent actually. So we love to use a process on maybe on our desktop, our computer, or maybe most of the time in paper. I have seen many people who takes printout of the thing and they correct the thing instead of texting in computer. Then the another generation who has actually grown in the IT level. That means they have seen so much of IT, they can't think anything other than technology. So you do not know. They may be using the same thing, same application what you are developing, which our generation people may use it in desktop computer, or make it take a printout and do the thing. That generation may be trying to do it into the laptop or iPad, something like that. And then there is a third generation who are millennial, who are born in IT. Now they may be using that particular process, that particular application in smartphone, or they may do it even in tablet. They may do it, and you never know where they are using. Some of them may be using it sitting in the toilet also, maybe while going in airplane also. So your process should be such that your users, these three generation of users who are staying in the who are in the organization, all of them find it attractive. Because please remember, the new process what you are generating, the users import has to be given maximum importance. The only thing which helps you to successfully do a business process engineering is ease of change, ease of adoption, how easily you are adopting that, how easily you are onboarding your users, and how you are bringing value to your management. It is something called top line and bottom line. Top line is where the sales is increasing. So whether the new process helping you to get more sales, whether the more money is getting made. So those has to be thought of, and the future process to be designed. Then the third step is identify the inefficiency, current inefficiency, and develop the expected changes. Because in your new process, if those inefficiencies creep in, you will not be able to succeed. I have seen, unfortunately, many business who implement SAP because one of their competitor has done this. Actually, that's no answer. Your competitor, every business, like every individual, is unique, and your problem statement, your things are completely different from others actually. So you need to think what are the inefficiency in your business, how you can improve that. And there's something a business architect or a solution architect has to work with the business guys, has to work with the management, understand that the inefficiencies and try to remove that. Then the fourth step is re-engineer the process and compare the changes in key performance indicator. Which means when you design a re-engineering process, you should ensure that the whatever KPI were being set earlier, they are modified, and the new KPIs are better than the old KPI, and you get a better performance from the new processes. And then there is a continuous monitor and evaluation need of the progress of the process after re-engineering, because it is not the question of the business process engineering doesn't end by implementing a solution. You need to you need to, like, that people say that the consultants are the people who teach you how to see a watch by taking the watch from you actually, and they will walk away with the watch. That's not the way a true consultant should work. A consultant should work in such a way, they will handhold you, they will ensure that you get benefit of the suggestion which are given, or the new process we are given actually. So then I that so therefore I said that you can only automate after you do this due diligence, you do the re-engineering. Because if you automate with all the inefficiencies, and if you do those automation, it will be actually a disaster, because inefficiencies will creep in and your automation will give the same result. So every change actually has a cost involved in it. So that cost you will spend, but you will not get the result actually. So I have actually it's same thing I have written in different format. Maybe you have to prioritize and access high level prioritization of the high impact process, deep dive into operation, conduct time and motion study and value stream mapping, develop business case, and ensure project readiness. Then maybe again you will have to do a reprioritization, because you may have to decide that while the project is big one, a big bang approach may not be right, because management may not have that much patience to wait for such a long time. So whether we can target the low hanging fruit, identify the right process candidates and do that quickly. Then we can do a categorized process, develop roadmap, and define the target and do the risk mitigation. Because every change you are doing, it will bring in lot of risk. So whether the risk mitigation is done, whether the targets are being filled. Then the next process is you need to design the tool. There are many automation tools available in market, and all of them are good. There is hardly anyone is bad. But as you know, somebody like Honda, somebody like Hyundai, both the cars are good, but it depends upon the user or driver who feels comfortable in his environment. So you need to design the tool, because once you design the tool, it is very difficult to move away from that tool to some other tool actually. And then you need to build your RPA team. This is very critical, because when you build the team, right skill sets of people has to be there. Somebody should be a champion of the process, somebody should be from the management, somebody should be a techie guy who knows that, because generally majority of the RPA program I have seen are developed in C++ and .NET background. So people who have worked in C++ and .NET for a long time, they get a lot of advantage in making their career in RPA initiative. So you may have to think of the people whom you are taking. Then you define the roles and responsibility of each team member, who has to do what. Then you define the governance mechanism, that in case something goes wrong, how you are going to take the corrective action. Then you manage the organizational change and collaboration. in-house technical team, because you know that when you are doing the any change management process, there is something, a cultural change is there which has to be managed. People's fear loss of job, fear of loss of job, then other kind of insecurity issues, those need to taken care. And also the technology changes, how they are going to change. So basically what people do, they set up a center of excellence inside organization, bring all the relevant team members together, and they work for a particular goal to implement that process change. And then you start the implementation. And when you do the implementation, again the standard process of plan, do, check, analysis stage is there, where you need to plan properly how to implement. You need to do a baby steps, then you need to do some kind of cross check whether they are working well, and then implement that. And then maybe, as you know, there are many methodology of a project management. It can be a waterfall methodology, it can be a agile methodology, and everything is right. There is nothing wrong, nothing right. It depends on the type of automation project you are taking and how you are managing. Many of the cases I have seen that the RPA projects are different in the agile mode, and in agile process actually we develop a 15 days worth of work together, which typically we call them sprint. And every sprint, how the sprint is performing, based on that next sprint is designed actually. In the process the customer gets something, keep on getting something continuously, and they keep on correcting that also, and we can monitor the project well. But yes, if it is a large project with multi global users involved, maybe a waterfall or big bang method also works, where you design the whole business plan, then you do the design, then you do the implementation, then you do the testing, then you do the go live. So those steps you can follow in that also. So I'm sorry, these fonts are very small. I have taken from internet this slide actually, and this gives us a some kind of ideas of what are the business processes normally we can do using the robotic process automation or some kind of automation. So some of the thing I will read actually, because this is very small. So maybe in finance and accounting, invoice processing is one such candidate which is done. Vendor onboarding is another candidate. Third, three-way cross-checking of document is another kind of candidate which can be automated. Accounting journal entries, then maybe collection of payment and matching and processing, another candidate. Expense management, another candidate. Update exchange note, account reconciliation, credit check, finance reporting, debt recovery. So you can see there are many functions. So what I will do, this presentation or this table I will put into the description of the video. Maybe you can have a look at it, and in case you have some difficulty you can definitely ask me. I'll be able to help you out. But because I have copied from one of the internet site, the fonts have come very small and it is difficult to read. But I found this is very comprehensive type, where all kind of automation initiative what can be thought of and what has been taken are enumerated here. So this may be helpful actually. So I have written finance, accounting, human resources, sales, marketing, information technology, operation, customer service, supply chain, payroll, everywhere that can be done actually. Maybe in the last part of the presentation, I will go by a case study which we have done recently for a large manufacturing group. There was a situation where 2 million worth of vendor invoice used to be processed per month, and they used to involve some 34 employees to do that from many location offices around the globe. And lot of manual work was there, scanning of invoices, check the correctness of the invoices. Good receipt is to done at store. Good receipt is when the material comes, you need to declare in SAP that the material is received in organization. That's called good receipt actually. Then you have to tally with the invoice quantity, how much good receipt have happened and how much invoice has been submitted. Understand the possible human error, posting in SAP, and make the finance payment. Now this was very elaborate process and used to take lot of time and energy of the people. Using automation solution, some RPA, SAP has a module called Vendor Invoice Management, which is the open text based solution, but is also a automation solution, which is called SAP Vim. And then we have employed some OCR technique and some artificial intelligence enabled some scripts. The whole process is now being managed by five people actually. and only work they are doing is they are scanning the invoice and handing over to the system. Rest are being done by the system. So you can see how impactful can be one successful process automation. And this is a case study which I was part of the implementation and I have seen from very close quarter. And I can say that it involves lot of challenges and lot of success stories, lot of difficulties, but at the end the fruits are very sweet. So that comes back to what are the challenges definitely we can actually think of. So user cooperation is very necessity actually, because users are people who are going to tell us how the system they want. Now many times users have mental mindset that if this is successful then I may not be able to do the same job, and there is a fear of uncertainty in my job. So they don't allow the system to develop well. So we need to ensure that that portion is taken care of. I remember one of the large GBS system in US who they are in the business of the business in the insurance area, and when they implement a business process automation, they actually the CEO of that company, they were involving some India-based team, and they were quite close to me, and their CEO make an announcement that not a single job will be cut after the process, and we will be able to redeploy you in doing better activity what they are doing. We always feel that human hands are very important. They are supposed to do a very meaningful job, not the routine or mundane job. Routine or mundane job can be given to robot, can be given to computers. The job where you need to add lot of human value, those can be given to human being actually. Then the next challenge is regressive testing is very important, and we actually many times do not do that. So what we do, we test some of the scenarios, but we don't follow the standard testing mechanism. In any standard software organization, their testing automation is one of the important part. So you need to do all tests, you need to follow the procedure, prepare the test script, prepare the test procedure, write down the expectation of the particular test, and then when the test is down, how much is actually it is successful, that particular item has to be considered. So many things are coming. So regressive testing is a challenge and should be done. Change management is a big challenge. As I told, it is not only technology, but the cultural changes also need to be managed, because every change we need to think that what is the impact of the change in the bigger perspective. And please understand, all changes actually cost money. So do the changes only when there is actually a need of doing that change. Do not do the changes just because I like that thing to happen in this way, therefore the change has to be done. It has been seen by me many times in industry. Whenever a new manager joins an organization, he does not like anything done by the earlier manager. So he wants a new type of dashboard, new type of report to be developed. No, no, no. Those changes are not good for the organization. Changes are to be done. Changes are costly. So changes are to be done for the sake of improvement of the process actually. So sometimes the people attrition is a big problem, because the agents leave, software programmers leave, and also sometimes the users also leave. Now how do you introduce a robust knowledge transfer process or training process where the past activity done or past lessons learned are available in a central repository and can be reused by the people, is very important actually. So this is something also very important, I want to bring it to your knowledge. And last part is, many of the automation projects will be more better if you add the artificial intelligence layer into it. So I have actually shown it is the evolution of artificial intelligence or digitization. In the we can say that ERP, employee resource planning, like SAP, Oracle, those actually are the previous primitive stage. Then from ERP we have grown to the e-commerce stage, where the people are actually now 30 to 50% of the business are now on e-commerce. You do not have to go the conventional way, you can do the e-commerce way. And after e-commerce way, the business has now grown into self-service. Like you, what you need, you get it developed, get it subject, and do that. And then the RPA came, and when the RPA came, the adoption of the process increased 80 to 90%. Now after RPA, AI we were expecting that beyond 90% will bring it to us, and it will actually show lot of benefit to the business. So this slide is taken from internet, from one of the image I picked, but it is very well developed actually. So we can use AI to predict the errors. We can use AI to guide the agents. We can AI to build the human touch, how it is being more humanized, and different data sets for analyzing the improvement needs and also the change management. Last but not the least, because I am from the manufacturing industry and I have dealt my entire life in the shop floor, so could not get the temptation to add a few slides from there. So if you are doing some kind of automation, there is always a four levels of automation is there. There will be some kind of field devices, like for instance scanner, for instance sensors, for instance camera, for instance those will be there. And then there will be some process control. So you have the PLC, the SCADA, those kind of things which will be give you those kind of, they will take the input from these instruments, and also they will give command to these instruments to work in a particular manner. But then beyond them there will be some kind of supervisory system which will actually model what is required. So suppose for instance if you want a particular process to be successful, you may have to develop lot of mathematical model, and based on that you may have to design what kind of input has to be given, how that will add given scenario, how that will work better. And then level 3 maybe some kind of manufacturing execution system or departmental execution system which will give you the overall view of many processes put together. And then there will be ERP which will be level 4, or which will give you the overall business scenario actually. So this slide I have taken from one of my old steel plant experience. Typically this is taken from Tata Steel many years ago what we did, and you can see that some kind of customer ordering, converting that into a meal order, taking the information system for different system, and how we are preparing the invoices. There are complicated systems, processes are there, what we simplified and did the automation there actually. Some of the IT system we used in those days, I have given those documents. These are almost 20-25 years old. Today I am sure they have changed considerably, but the basic funda is still there. We have taken some kind of machine level warehouse, data warehouse, and then there are some kind of MES solution which will give the overall production capability. And then there is a SAP, then BW, then there is a strategic enterprise management. So that so I'm just giving an example. This slide is taken from Tata Steel, so I will give an example of Tata Steel only. Tata Motors may be a customer who is going to order us to give some coil. Now Tata Motors customers order will actually work into the highest level. That will they will The Tata Steel has to do a strategic enterprise management and design what kind of business process they have to take, what kind of product strategy they have to take, so that the future order of Tata Steel, Tata Motors also they can supply. And with the same effort, not only Tata Motors, they can also help Maruti, they can also help Hyundai and other area also. And then the order will be taken in SAP, yeah, which will be taken in R3, but the management system will be made in SAP BIW or maybe analytics. And then there will be standard processes which will be buy, make and sell. And from make area there will be come down to MES, where all the manufacturing processes will be there. And then if they are further going down, all the database, the systems and all these things will be there. This may not be relevant for the present purpose, but I wanted to add this slide to understand the whole big type of business, because business processes are same whether you are manufacturing, we are customizing, and then the customization of any business process with reference to the whole business, that will be useful actually. So it's a similar file. I do not want to get into it. I just wanted to say, only add one sentence to it, that for any business process automation, actually there are three components which are important. One is management, who should have the vision how to take the business forward and how a automated business process will give you the benefit. And then the management also who should be willing to be sponsor of that process, should be willing to wait for the changes to happen. And then the next one is the implementer. You should choose the implementation team, a capable team, a people with different kind of minds, different kind of skill set. may have the ERP skill set, they should have the automation skill set, they should have different tools and technology use set, and they should be able to willing to help the customer organization. They should not think of only they are making money actually, because when they start thinking they are making money, the whole purpose gets defeated. And the third important is the tools what you choose, because tools are important, and those tools actually make and break up any automation project. So whether you are choosing a AI based tool, whether you are choosing a normal RPA tool, you are, whether there are many vendors. I am not going to vendor specific discussion in this slide, but you need to choose them with all the sincerity. And then there has to be a change management mechanism where you should take care of the implementation process. So I hope this presentation will be helpful. Thank you for spending time, and I am closing the slide here. Thank you very much.